Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of NEWS2. I'm Sandra Gamansi. During a joint press conference with the Canadian Prime Minister, President Donald Trump praised Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly for leading widespread arrests and deportations on illegal immigrants. Federal immigration authorities released statements on Monday informing that they have arrested nearly 700 undocumented immigrants as part of a series of raids tied to President Trump's executive order to find and deport 11 million people living in the United States illegally. Here's more from Stephanie Brown.
Newly elected President Trump has been in office for over a month, and the president has already executed executive orders to temporarily suspend visitors from several Muslim countries and to enforce stricter regulation on immigrants residing in the U.S. illegally.
A nation without borders is not a nation.
Although the president's ban has been suspended momentarily as it was deemed as discriminative and unconstitutional, individuals residing in the U.S. and its protectorates without legal documentation are all subjected to the increase of deportation sweeping the nation. One attorney practicing immigration law over 30 years in the territory spoke further on how Trump's immigration policies affect some individuals residing in the Virgin Islands.
It will have, and I know it has, a direct effect on the people in the U.S. Virgin Islands. My free legal advice is, if you do not have your papers together, do not travel.
Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett weighed in with her sentiments on the tightening of immigration procedures in the territory.
Executive action issued by President Trump. It can also break up families, which of course is of great concern here in the Virgin Islands. And it also enlists local police officers as enforcers. And we already know that our own local law enforcement is really strained.
TV2 contacted the local U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. However, employees informed that they were unable to make public statements and that the regional public relations officer residing in Puerto Rico would contact us back, but as of news time, they never did. Stephanie Brown, News 2.
Calling News 2 to keep you updated. United States officials have expressed concerns that Trinidad and Tobago nationals that have joined ISIS may try to enter the United States, as we reported earlier this week. These concerns may initiate immigration bans in the Caribbean for individuals traveling to the U.S. The 32nd Legislature of the VI's Committee on Rules and Judiciary met yesterday and received testimony from the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce, the St. Croix Chamber of Commerce, local restaurateurs, and the Commissioner of Finance, as well as the Commissioner of Tourism, to name a few, to provide sentiments and data regarding the Sin Tax Bill and Bill number 32-0007 related to increasing property taxes. The Sin Tax Bill was approved by receiving 5 yes and 2 nays, and the Property Tax Bill Amendment, which proposed the minimum property tax rate of $360 for tax-exempted payers, which include veterans, the elderly, as well as disabled citizens, was approved with a vote of 4 yeas and 2 noes. Meanwhile, Governor Kenneth Mapp expressed his appreciation Friday to the senators who voted in favor of measures included in the Virgin Islands Revenue Enhancement and Economic Recovery Act. Rules Committee members forwarded the legislation to the full body for consideration. He said, "I thank the committee members and continue to be encouraged by the effort and good judgment of senators willing to move forward." The governor said he is currently attending the annual winter meeting of the National Governors Association in Washington, D.C. Lieutenant Governor Oswald Potter is serving as acting governor until his return on March 1st. NGA reports a record 46 governors are in attendance at this year's conference. Today's meetings included working luncheon with Vice President Mike Pence, in addition to policy discussions on education, infrastructure, childhood hunger, and cybersecurity. Governors will meet with President Trump and various cabinet secretaries. They will go to Capitol Hill on Monday to conduct discussions with leaders in Congress on health care reform, tax reform, and cybersecurity. St. Croix District of the Democratic Party, they're inviting you to a meet and greet to have a conversation on the sin tax and property tax legislation on Saturday, February 25th. That's from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at the Chop and Grill in Sunny Isle. Meanwhile, calling this a step in the right direction, State Chair of the Virgin Islands Democratic Party, Donna M. Christensen, hailed the passage of a resolution submitted by the Virgin Islands delegation attending the winter meeting of the Democratic National Committee in Atlanta as monumental. National Committee woman Carol Burke, who prime sponsored the resolution, defended it before the Resolutions Committee. The measure calls for equal treatment for territories, including finances. It passed unanimously out of committee and now heads to the full body for consideration. Burke said this is a very exciting time for Virgin Islands Democrats, and we remain hopeful that this resolution will be adopted. Department of Human Services Commissioner nominee Felicia Blyden went before the Committee on Rules and Judiciary yesterday and was unanimously approved. She said, "It is my honor and privilege to have been selected by Governor Kenneth Mapp to lead the Department of Human Services." Blyden comes with 26 years of experience directly from DHS. She was born and raised on St. Thomas, graduated from All Saints Cathedral School, earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in social work from the University of the Virgin Islands, and received her Master of Arts degree in vocational and rehabilitation counseling from the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. Blyden rose through the ranks in DHS. Turning to the courts on February 23rd, Aracelis N. Ayala, 34, was found guilty by a federal jury of one count of Hobbs Act robbery, one count of conspiracy to commit Hobbs Act robbery, one count of brandishing a firearm during a crime of violence, and one count of robbery in the first degree. Ayala faces up to 20 years on each of the Hobbs Act. Judge Curtis Gomez remanded Ayala into the custody of the U.S. Marshals Service pending her sentencing on June 29, 2017. According to the evidence presented at trial, Ayala was a member of a robbery crew that conspired to rob Signature Jewelers on August 19, 2015. Meanwhile, on Thursday, February 23rd, about 4:53 p.m., Darwin Puelo Mateo, 19 of Contant, was present at the Criminal Investigation Bureau and was taken into custody after a warrant was issued for his arrest. Here's more.
Puelo Mateo is facing charges on possession of stolen property, carrying a firearm, grand larceny, and disturbance of the peace. On January 18, 2017, while using a firearm, Puelo Mateo took jewelry and cash from another individual. Unable to post bail in the amount of $75,000, he was turned over to the Bureau of Corrections pending his advice of rights hearing.
President Trump, turning back to Washington, fires up the crowd at a major conservative with a speech that took sharp aim at the mainstream media, and shortly after that appearance at CPAC, the Trump White House blocked certain news organizations from an off-camera briefing. After a parade of top Trump surrogates took the CPAC stage Thursday, on Friday morning, the audience heard from the president himself, who credited a speech to the conference in 2011. The president began his remarks by blasting the media's coverage of his campaign last year and the early days of his administration. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the New York Stock Exchange with the Stock Market Watch. According to the numbers there, we can see that the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P all up. The Dow 11, Nasdaq 9, S&P 500 up 3. Coming up on News 2, we take you on board the El Galeon. That is coming up next. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The management and staff of Innovative advises the community that the business offices, retail stores, and service centers in both districts will be closed this Saturday, February 25th. The innovative business offices, which includes the customer care departments for innovative telephone, innovative cable TV, and innovative long distance, will close on February 25th to facilitate an internal network conversion that will affect customer operations. This upgrade will also affect the operations of the service centers that respond to trouble tickets and service complaints. Innovative wireless locations at Estate Diamond on St. Croix and the Tutu Park locations on St. Thomas will also be closed on February 25th. Choice Wireless retail stores located at Havenside in St. Thomas and the Sunshine Mall on St. Croix will be open on Saturday, February 25th. All innovative offices will resume normal business hours on Monday, February 27th. Vitima on Tuesday delivered a cache of much-needed medical and emergency supplies to the Water Island Search and Rescue Organization. Water Island Search and Rescue is a volunteer nonprofit community organization that has been working for more than a decade to provide emergency services to residents and tourists who visit the island's popular Honeymoon Beach. The 38-member team is the island's first response to emergencies for close to 200 residents and for 600 plus tourists on any given day. On Tuesday, Todd Patton of Vitima presented the organization with 2 Yamaha portable generators, 3 emergency oxygen kits, 3 oxygen tanks, 3 deluxe oxygen tank bags, and 3 large EMT trauma bags. Governor Kenneth Mapp recently welcomed a team of national experts on climate adaptation and resilience for a 2-day workshop on preparing for earthquakes, flooding, sea level rise, and other natural hazards earlier this week. The 2-day workshop included members of the Climate Change Council, cabinet members, and other stakeholders. Over the course of the workshop, participants heard presentations on how to make the Virgin Islands more resilient in the face of hazards associated with climate change, including erosion, hurricanes, and rising sea levels. At the same time, members of the council educated the GICD team on the unique issues facing the Virgin Islands and on our community's priorities. St. Croix District Spelling Bee celebrating its 44th year anniversary, and today the students from elementary to junior high school level competed at the John H. Woodson Junior High School. Michaela Todman, a Spelling Bee champion that has competed several times and won top place, dominated the Spelling Bee today again, but not without fierce competition. Although Michaela won the St. Croix District Spelling Bee today, the top 6 contenders will move on to the Territorial Spelling Bee, which will take place on March 22nd, the Regional Spelling Bee.
And so we're going to bring both spellers back, and they're going to spell in their original order. Correct. We have a winner! The winner of the 2017 District Spelling Bee is Michaela Todman from the John H. Woodson Junior High School. Congratulations, and can we get all the spellers back on the stage in your original spelling order?
Congratulations to all the students and Michaela as well. Now, a day before that, the Department of Education Division of Curriculum and Instruction, they hosted a reception for the spellers. The in-school Spelling Bee winners were accompanied by their family and coaches on Wednesday at the St. Croix Curriculum Center, where longtime Chief Spelling Bee Judge Maureen Moorhead outlined the rules of the Spelling Bee in a fun and pragmatic way. Seasoned speller and the 2016 Territorial Spelling Bee champion, 13-year-old Michaela Todman, took to the podium to give the final words of encouragement to her fellow competitors, and then she shined today as well. 250 students in schools in St. Thomas and St. John, they recently danced their way to good health in the hit stage production My Plate, the new food guide musical that promotes healthy nutrition and exercise at schools across the country. The spectacular showcase, which has been praised by First Lady Michelle Obama, was put on by Helen Butleroff Lee, an ex-Rockette, a professional Broadway choreographer, dancer, and registered dietitian, along with Rumel Rowe, Broadway performer and choreographer. It was presented at 3 schools, including Julius E. Sproul, Lockhart Elementary, and Bowski Elementary from February 13th to 15th. 90 students from each school participated as dancers in the Veggie Rock, YMCA, and Fruit Rap basketball segments of the show. Well, the El Galeon is the full-size reconstructed Spanish sailing vessel used in the 16th to 18th century, and we saw it earlier this week. It's here after a journey from Puerto Rico to the Gulf of Mexico, U.S. East Coast, Canada, and back to Spain it's headed. The living history ship was converted into a floating museum with 5 of the vessel's 6 decks available for tours. El Galeon is open to visitors daily from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.
We actually reached out to El Galeon as we knew they were in Puerto Rico, and we wanted an opportunity to bring a tall ship as part of Centennial, celebrating the 100 years in the territory. Bring them to the Virgin Islands, and we like the product that they offer. It's a floating museum. It gives an opportunity for our kids and adults to see what it was like in the days that these ships plowed the waters.
Well, we will be more than happy to have here, and especially the kids, because this is a museum, and we want to teach everybody some of the part of the history that was around this area, and I think that will be something interesting if they can learn in a real ship. That will be more interesting for them.
We will have more about the El Galeon ship next week, but the Boys and Girls Club students from the Marine Vocational Program, they were among the first to visit aboard the El Galeon, the full-size reconstructed 16th to 18th century Spanish sailing vessel docked right there on the waterfront at Yacht Haven Grand Marine. And remember, you can go on board for tours, and it's there till March 1st. The 500-ton, 160-foot vessel arrived in port on Tuesday as part of the official VI Centennial Transfer Commission, the event to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the transfer of the islands from the Kingdom of Denmark to the United States. Again, El Galeon is home ported in Barcelona, Spain, one of 7 countries that has flown its flag over what is now the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the students had a great time on board. Miss Ivana Udoracan High School will take place this Saturday. The contestants stopped by our studios to introduce themselves. Here they are.
The reason I have decided to vie for the title of Miss Ivana Udoracan High School, I want to be able to showcase my talent and my beauty, and also be a good role model for all young teenagers that are suffering with low self-esteem.
I've decided to run for the title of Miss Ivana Udoracan High School because I would like to be an ambassador and a positive role model to my parents at my school and also to young adults in the community.
I have decided to compete for this pageant as a 16-year-old who has lost her father due to the fact of gun violence. I can use this pageant as an opportunity to send a message to young females and everybody in the community. No matter what obstacles you come through in life, anything is possible.
The reason that I have decided to vie for the title of Miss Ivana Udoracan High School is because I want to see change. I want to break the stereotype of what a pageant girl looks like. Beauty and brains come in all different shapes, colors, and sizes.
On February 25th, 6 p.m. sharp, the stage will be set, the lights will dim, and curtains will be drawn as my fellow contestants and I take you on a journey through time, both future and past, to celebrate a century of royalty and class. Thank you.
And we wish all the ladies the best. The J.D. Twitt Primary School recently launched its positive behavioral interventions and supports the PBIS initiative with a fun outdoor celebration filled with PBIS chants, cheers, a parade, a skit, a dance party, and a sneak peek of the new school store. It was topped off with take-home treats and a take-home message for students using the 3 B's: be responsible, be respectful, and be safe. The PBIS program is rolling out at schools across the territory and is described as an adaptable framework to address behavioral challenges and improve social skills, school climate, and school culture, according to PBIS coach Darian Torres, who worked with JET teachers and students. University-bound program at the University of the Virgin Islands facilitated a UVI-hosted college tour for high school students and parents, grades 10 to 12, on both campuses of University of the Virgin Islands. Parents and students had an opportunity to speak with representatives from the Office of the Provost and Admissions Office, the Office of the Registrar of Financial Aid, Housing, and other UVI officials about the benefits of attending UVI, and we will have the highlights next week. And don't forget to check out the Dominican Parade. The Virgin Islands Police Department wishes to advise the motoring public of parking restrictions and street closings scheduled for the 8th Annual Dominican Parade to be held in Christiansted on Sunday, February 26th, effective Sunday, February 26th from about 5 a.m. Until the completion of the event, the following parking restrictions will be in effect. No parking on King Street and Hospital Street. Any vehicle found parked in the restricted areas will be ticketed and or towed at the owner's expense. Stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
Hopefully you had a great Friday and we are off to a nice weekend here. Here's a look at what's happening right now. The current satellite, you can see all of the moisture is well off to our north. So things have been pretty good throughout the day today as we continue into the nighttime hours. Quiet weather, 72 degrees for your overnight low temperature with mainly clear skies overhead. So if you have any big Friday night plans, don't cancel them. It will be a very nice night and a very nice start to the weekend here. We have mostly sunny conditions in store for you for St. John. On Saturday, temperatures will be right around 84 degrees. So a great day to get outside and enjoy the sunshine. A very similar forecast here in St. Thomas, 84 degrees, the high temperature. Plenty of sunshine to go around and plenty of sunshine out in St. Croix for your Saturday. 84 degrees will be the high temperature. What you're noticing is it's very dry, at least for the start of the weekend. Once we head into next week, we are going to see the trade winds picking back up, so we'll have a few more shower opportunities as we head into the middle portion, or the early to middle portion of next week. So heads up if you're heading out on the water, at least on the Atlantic side, we still do have a small craft advisory in place. Still a little bit choppy out there, mainly just on the Atlantic side. The waves are between 4 to 6 feet, and the winds right now are out of the south at 10 to 15 knots. Taking a look at things on the Caribbean side, as I mentioned, more choppy on the Atlantic side with that storm system heading up toward Bermuda. The waves are between 2 to 4 feet, and the wind on the Caribbean side between 5 to 10 knots. Here's a look at the extended forecast. Beautiful weekend, nice and dry in the low to mid 80s. And then once we get into early next week, that's when we will have a few shower opportunities. Monday, a shower. Better chance Tuesday and Wednesday as those trade winds pick back up. Back to you, Sandy.
Thanks for that. Have a wonderful weekend there. Look at the News 2 picture there. The weather picture is by Edwin Collins of Ricardo Richards Elementary School. Looking for a sunny outlook going into the weekend for some outdoor fun. Edwin, thank you for that picture. Send us your News 2 weather picture to the address on the screen and be sure to tune in to see it. That is all for now. We'd like to thank you and have a wonderful weekend on behalf of all of us here at News 2. We'll see you next time.